In this lecture, we examine how to identify and understand market trends. Our learning objectives are to understand the difference between market and products, assemble a go-to list of data sources, practice sizing with reports, top-down and bottom-up techniques, and in this lecture, to identify trends using the Pestle and Porter 5 forces techniques. In this slide, we examine the Pestle trend analysis method. Pestle stands for political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental forces. In the Pestle method, we consider each of the forces and what they can do to the market. The forces can introduce trends, allowing us to fast forward into the future, gaining a glimpse of the possible future of the market. We demonstrate the Pestle method with an example. In the example, we examine laptop personal computers in the late 2000s. The first force in Pestle is political, such as changes in the market due to federal regulations. For example, India cut their customs duties from 16% to 8%, increasing demand for PCs in that country. The second force is economic, such as impacts from inflation. For example, overall information technology, or IT, purchases fell in 2009 due to the recessionary pressures of that time. The third force is social, such as social customs and fads. For example, travelers have developed a preference for thinner and lighter laptops, resulting in increased sales of ultra-portable machines. The fourth force is technological, such as miniaturization and increased computer processing power. For example, advances in processors and touchscreens have helped to drive increased sales in smartphones and tablets, such as the Apple iPad. The fifth force is legal, such as new legislation and statutes. For example, the smartphone industry has been rocked by patent battles in the legal arena, such as the well-publicized patent wars between Apple and Samsung. The sixth and final force is environmental, which generally center on increasing concern for our natural environment. For example, companies in the European Union must comply with the Restriction of Hazardous Substance Directive, also known as RoHS. Similarly, California passed the Electronic Waste Recycling Act. Both seek to reduce pollution due to hazardous elements of consumer electronics. The next method to examine market trends is the Porter 5 Forces framework. The framework offers 5 different forces that can act on industries to make them more or less attractive. The forces are listed on the slide. We discuss each force on the next slide. In the Porter 5 Forces framework, the first force is the threat of new entrants, which consists of new organizations joining the industry, which can be viewed as competitors. The problem is especially great in growing and profitable markets, which tend to attract new competitors. The second force is intensity of rivalry, where nearly equal-sized competitors act as rivals and can dominate industries. The third force is pressure from substitutes, where buyers see other products and services as acceptable replacements for company offerings. The fourth force is the bargaining power of buyers, where buyers are in a position to demand price concessions. For example, the internet has increased the power of buyers for many industries because buyers now have much more information. The fifth and final force is the bargaining power of suppliers, where sellers are in a powerful position. This can be viewed as the opposite of the previous force. For example, some software programs use proprietary formats, making it difficult to change to another program. This situation is called having high switching costs, which favor sellers because buyers have high barriers to leave their existing seller and seek a new one. To demonstrate the Porter 5 Forces framework, we examine the situation facing online coupon company Groupon in 2012. With regard to the threat of new entrants, the situation does not look favorable because many companies can easily join the market. In fact, many companies, such as Fat Wallet and others, did exactly that, which created a highly competitive environment. With respect to intensity of rivalry, we see strong battles between industry heavyweights such as Amazon and Google, again, not a favorable situation. With regard to pressure from substitute products, we face challenges due to the many substitutes available in the market. With respect to bargaining power of buyers, we see the power as strong because buyers can easily switch to new providers because each company offers essentially the same service. Finally, with regard to the bargaining power of suppliers, Suppliers have little power because coupons are not essential to buyers. In short, the 5 forces affecting Groupon at that time do not look favorable. We should not be surprised, therefore, to learn that Groupon's stock price decreased shortly after its initial public offering, or IPO. In this chapter, we've learned about relevant terminology such as being able to talk about markets instead of just focusing on products those markets purchase. We've also examined the data sources available in the chapter, and by now you should have already developed your own go-to list of sources that you find useful. For now, you should be looking at practicing the different sizing methods covered in the chapter so you know how to execute them. Also, test out the pestle and Porter techniques on markets familiar to you so you can learn how to apply them.